Imagine opening your laptop a few years from now. Your feed looks normal. Articles, videos, reviews, emails, podcasts, customer replies, same screen, same internet. But then you notice something strange. The article was not written by a person, the video was assembled by software, the sales email was created, tested, personalized, and sent without a human touching it. Even the comment under a post may be one digital worker trying to influence another. The internet is not empty, it is overcrowded. And most of the crowd is no longer human. For 20 years, online creation had one natural limit: human time. Someone had to write, design, edit, approve. That friction created a ceiling. AI removes that ceiling. When creation becomes almost free, content explodes. And the real problem will not be a shortage of information. It will be a shortage of trust. The companies that win will not be the ones publishing the most. They will be the ones people still believe. Because in a world where machines can create almost anything, the most valuable thing your company can produce is trust. Think of the internet as a city. For the last 20 years, that city has been loud, messy, alive, and imperfect. People were selling, teaching, complaining, debating, entertaining, and building. Algorithms controlled the traffic, but the shopkeepers were mostly human. Now, picture the same city after a massive construction boom. Every street has 1,000 new stores, with each store having a perfect signage. Every window has a beautiful display. Every salesperson speaks in polished language. Every restaurant has a menu that sounds handcrafted. Every consultant has a white paper. All brands have a podcast. All polished, personalized, pristine. Nothing looks obviously broken. In fact, everything looks more professional. That is the danger. When everything becomes polished, polish stops being a signal. A weak idea can wear a tailored suit. A shallow report can look boardroom ready. A generic brand can sound sophisticated. A false claim can be written with calm confidence and perfect grammar. The old signals stop working. People used to trust things because they looked professional, sounded intelligent, or appeared often enough to feel familiar. AI makes all of that cheap. The surface gets better while the signal gets weaker. That is why the next competitive advantage is not production. It is credibility. A company does not need to ask, can we make more content? Of course it can. The better question is, will anyone care when we do? That is a very different question. Executives are going to be tempted by the wrong scoreboard. The dashboard will show more output, lower cost, faster turnaround, higher personalization, and more activity across every channel. At first, it will feel like progress because the numbers will move in the right direction. Customers, however, do not live inside dashboards. They live inside crowded inboxes. They scroll through noisy feeds. They sit through vendor calls. They receive follow-ups from companies they barely remember. They compare products that all claim to be smarter, faster, safer, easier, more personalized, and more innovative. From the company side, AI may feel like leverage. From the customer side, it may feel like another wave hitting the beach. That distinction matters. A restaurant can buy a machine that prints beautiful menus, invents new dishes, and creates endless descriptions. The room may look busy, the kitchen may move faster, the menu may grow from 10 items to 500, but a hungry customer does not want 500 average options. A hungry customer wants to know what is worth eating. The same thing is happening online. People are not starving for more information. They are starving for reliable judgment. That is the shift. Creation becomes abundant, judgment becomes scarce, and when judgment becomes scarce, trust becomes the product. The first generation of companies using AI will probably overuse it. That is normal. Every powerful new tool goes through an overuse phase. When companies discovered email marketing, inboxes got flooded. When brands discovered social media, feeds became crowded. When SEO became popular, the internet filled with articles written more for search engines than for humans. AI will create a bigger version of the same pattern. The first instinct will be to generate, publish, automate, and scale everything that can be scaled. Some of that will create real value. A lot of it will become noise. The danger is not that AI content always looks bad. Bad content is easy to reject. The dangerous content is the content that looks fine. Fine is the silent killer of brands because it gets approved and it fills the calendar. Fine keeps the machine moving and makes everyone feel productive, but fine rarely earns attention. A company can become faster and more invisible at the same time. That is the trap. The business looks busier, but the brand becomes weaker. There is a better way to think about AI. Do not imagine it as a giant microphone that lets your company shout louder. Imagine it as a kitchen. The kitchen can prepare ingredients, organize the workflow, speed up repetitive tasks, reduce waste, and help the chef move faster. But the kitchen does not decide what the restaurant stands for. The oven does not create taste. The knife does not understand the guest. A great kitchen in the hands of a poor chef still produces forgettable food. A great team with strong judgment can use the same kitchen to serve something remarkable. That is how leaders should think about AI. It is not the source of judgment, it is the amplifier of judgment. If your company has clear thinking, AI can multiply it. When the strategy is confused, the confusion simply moves faster. Poor standards become automated poor standards. Outdated knowledge spreads more efficiently. Generic positioning gets generated at scale. Weak processes become faster weak processes. AI does not magically fix the operating system of a company. It reveals it. That is why the smartest executives will not begin with the tool. They will begin with the workflow, the standard, and the source of truth. Source is the first trust layer. A polished answer is not enough anymore. The important question is where the answer came from. Was it grounded in real customer data or approved company knowledge? Or did it simply sound plausible because the model is good at language? That difference is everything. The market will eventually learn to separate synthetic confidence from grounded confidence. Synthetic confidence sounds good. Grounded confidence can show its work. A company that wants to be trusted in the AI era needs to make the source visible inside the process, even when the customer never sees the machinery. Think about a bridge. Nobody driving across it wants to inspect every beam. Yet the driver assumes there was engineering, testing, maintenance, and accountability behind the structure. Trust comes from the hidden system. AI outputs need the same kind of hidden system. A customer may only see the answer, the report, or the recommendation. Behind it, the company needs trusted inputs, clear rules, and a standard for what counts as acceptable. Without that, the output is just language. With it, the output becomes part of a decision system. That distinction will separate serious companies from content factories. Taste is the second trust layer. This is harder to measure, but it may matter even more. AI can create options endlessly. That is useful, but endless options create a new problem. Selection becomes the work. What should be kept? What should be deleted? Which idea sounds impressive but says nothing? Which message feels clever but damages trust? Which paragraph is accurate but lifeless? Which campaign looks modern but could have come from any competitor? Those are not prompting problems. They are taste problems. Taste is the ability to know what belongs and what does not. A company with taste knows when to stop. It knows when simplicity is stronger than complexity. It knows when a message needs evidence, when a claim sounds inflated, and when a polished asset still lacks a soul. The future will reward this skill. As production becomes easier, the value shifts to judgment. A mediocre team with AI becomes a faster mediocre team. A strong team with AI becomes extremely dangerous in the best way. The machine can create the clay. The human still shapes the statue. That is why executives should not only train people to use AI, they should train people to judge AI. The next advantage is not better prompting alone, it is better standards. Ownership is the third trust layer. At small scale, experimentation feels harmless. A team tries a tool, drafts some copy, summarizes a call, or builds a prototype. The risk is limited. Enterprise scale is different. Once AI touches customers, money, sensitive data, operations, or public reputation, ownership needs to be explicit. A clear owner understands the workflow, the limits, the failure modes, and the point where human review becomes necessary. That person also needs enough authority to pause the system before a private mistake becomes a public problem. This is not anti-innovation. It is how innovation survives contact with reality. A fast car needs brakes, not because speed is bad, but because speed without control becomes dangerous. Good AI governance works the same way. The control system is not there to make the company slow. It is there so the company can move faster without crashing. This is where many leaders get the framing wrong. Governance sounds like paperwork. In practice, good governance is closer to air traffic control. Planes move quickly because the system around them is disciplined. Roads are known. Responsibilities are clear. Monitoring never stops. Escalation paths exist before emergencies happen. Nobody calls air traffic control anti-flight. In the same way, nobody should call practical AI governance anti-innovation. Control is what allows speed to scale. Reputation is the fourth trust layer. As the internet fills with machine-made output, people will become more selective about whom they believe. A faceless article may get a click, a generic video may get a view, an automated message may get opened. But when the decision matters, people look for something deeper. They look for a person, a company, or an institution willing to stand behind the answer. That is where reputation becomes a moat. A brand is not just a logo in this environment. It is a promise that someone is accountable for the quality of what was said, built, recommended, or delivered. This matters most in high-stakes fields: healthcare, finance, legal, enterprise software, education, security, strategy, hiring, governance. These are not areas where people simply want fluent language. They want dependable judgment. The more synthetic the internet becomes, the more valuable real credibility becomes. This is the trust premium. People will pay more attention to sources that have earned belief over time. They will prefer companies that can explain their process. Buyers will reward brands that make fewer claims but support them better. Investors, customers, and employees will move toward operators who know how to use AI without sounding like everyone else. Reputation has always mattered. AI makes it matter more. The market will split. Some companies will become noise machines. Their content calendars will grow, their outbound will multiply, and their websites will swell with pages. Leadership may feel proud because the machine is finally producing at scale. Over time, the brand starts to feel hollow. Messages become interchangeable. The voice gets smoother but less distinct. Customers do not revolt, they simply stop caring. That is how trust erodes quietly. Other companies will freeze. Fear of risk will keep them in meetings while competitors learn in the real world. Policies will be drafted, committees will form, and every experiment will wait for one more approval. Avoiding every mistake sounds safe until the company becomes too slow to matter. The winners will take a different path. They will use AI with ambition, but not desperation. Repetitive work will move into systems. Human attention will move toward judgment, relationships, taste, strategy, and trust. Automation will support the company's credibility instead of replacing it. That balance is the key. Machines create leverage, people create legitimacy. A serious company needs both. Here is the boardroom version. AI will make companies more productive. That part is obvious. Productivity alone, though, does not guarantee advantage. When every competitor gets access to similar tools, the edge moves up a level. It moves into data quality, process design, domain expertise, brand trust, management discipline, and the ability to make better decisions with the same technology. Two companies can use the same model and produce completely different outcomes. One becomes louder, messier, and less believable. The other becomes faster, sharper, and more useful. The model is not the whole story. The operating system around the model is the story. What information does the system rely on? Where does human review matter? How are mistakes detected? Which outputs can be traced? What level of authority has been granted? Who owns the outcome? These are leadership questions. They cannot stay buried inside technical teams. Once AI touches revenue, customers, brand, data, or decision making, it belongs in the operating model of the company. The board does not need to understand every technical detail. It does need to understand the risk of unmanaged scale, because scale is the whole point of AI, and unmanaged scale is where damage happens. A useful way to start is to map the company like a living organism. Every business has places where information enters, decisions happen, language is produced, and action leaves the system. Customer support is one channel, sales is another. Marketing, recruiting, finance, compliance, reporting, product, operations and leadership communication all have their own flows. AI should not be sprinkled randomly across those flows like glitter. It should be placed deliberately where it improves speed, quality, or consistency without weakening trust. Low-risk tasks can move quickly. Higher-risk tasks need stronger controls. Drafting an internal summary is not the same as sending a message to a client. Suggesting an answer is not the same as approving a decision. Research assistance is not the same as legal, financial, or medical advice. The level of freedom should match the level of consequence. That one principle can prevent a lot of bad decisions. Think of it like giving keys to a building. A visitor may enter the lobby. An employee may access the office. A security director can open sensitive rooms. Nobody serious gives every key to every person on day one. AI permissions should work the same way. Access, authority, and oversight need to match the role. The deeper point is that AI strategy is not really about tools. It is about trust design. A company should be able to answer a few practical questions without panic. Where is AI being used? What does it touch? Which outputs reach customers? How are sources controlled? Where is human review required? How are errors found? Could the workflow be stopped quickly if something goes wrong? Those questions do not need theatrical answers. They need operational answers, simple, visible, and owned. That is how trust becomes real. Most companies talk about trust like it is a feeling. In the AI era, trust has to become a system. Sources, standards, ownership, monitoring, escalation, and reputation all have to fit together. Otherwise, the company is not managing AI. It is hoping the machine behaves. Hope is not a strategy, not when the system can operate at machine speed. There is a temptation to make this topic sound futuristic. Robots, avatars, autonomous companies, billions of digital workers, infinite media. All of that may be true. But the practical lesson is old. When a marketplace gets crowded, trust wins. When quality becomes hard to judge, brands matter. When information becomes overwhelming, people look for filters. When technology makes production cheap, judgment becomes expensive. AI is not changing that law. It is accelerating it. The internet is becoming a synthetic ocean. More waves are coming every day. Some will carry value. Many will carry noise. A few will be dangerous. In that kind of ocean, people do not need another wave. They need the lighthouse. That is the metaphor executives should remember. Your company does not win by becoming part of the storm. It wins by becoming easier to navigate by. clearer signal, better judgment, stronger sources, visible accountability, a reputation that survives the flood. That is what AI should help you build, not just allow the company a more trusted one. So the next time someone says, we need more AI output, pause for a second. More is not the strategy, more is the default. The strategy is deciding what should be created, what should be trusted, what should be automated, and what should always carry human judgment. That is the work. The companies that understand this early will move faster, but they will not move blindly. They will use AI to remove friction around their best people. They will let machines handle the repetitive parts of work while humans protect meaning, context, and consequence. They will build systems that make the business sharper instead of simply louder. That is the opportunity. Soon, there may be billions of AI systems creating things online, more content than humans can read, more messages than humans can answer, more media than humans can process. The scarce asset will not be production, it will be trust. And in a world where machines can generate almost anything, the most valuable thing your company can create is something people still believe.